are here for Geekspeak, and it is, yes, there was singing. And it is this month in the world of marketing. So I'm Pip, Seymour Digital Media. That's Rena.
Rena from Little Works Indie Media.
Phelan.
Next.
Sorry, you guys are terrible at this. What? Who?
No, I was having technical issues. My internet just decided that it was going to be playing along. So yeah, my name's Phelan. I work with Pip at Seymour Digital Media.
And I'm Greg with Original 72 Creative, and we're a full-service website graphic design and digital marketing firm in Vancouver.
And if you made it through that, then you're making it all the way to the good stuff, which is this month in the world of marketing. So we go through website, search, social, and of course, now we're including AI. But let's take it off with Greg, because you were talking in our little chat back there about web stuff. What's going on in the world of websites?
Yeah, well, when we were doing our prep, there wasn't anything truly of note. But then after I had come across that the WordPress 6.4 beta 1 has been released to start testing, and going through some of the information about the next release, what's in it, I came across something that I'm a little bit excited for, which is called block hooks. So if anybody knows what a WordPress hook was, basically you would be able to take a little piece of code or something that you wrote or designed and hook it into a spot within the theme somewhere in the header or just before the footer or right after, the opening content. There's a whole bunch of places where you could literally hook things into the theme where you want it to be. Now, with the concept of the block editor, there's not really anywhere within the content that is hookable except for the very top or the very bottom before it finishes. So what a block hook in this new release is going to do is allow us to actually hook in a piece of content after a specific block. So for instance, if you had images all from the same photographer on your site for whatever reason, and you wanted to do a credit, the same credit underneath each image, you can create a block hook that would execute after every image on your website automatically, and it would give that credit as a for instance. So you could hook that in directly after every image that comes out on your site. So that's just one example that I have thought of.
That's quite interesting. Do you think, have you tested it?
No, this is something I just came across yesterday, so I haven't actually taken. I do have my own beta WordPress setup, so I will go at some point and actually install the bleeding edge of WordPress and give it a test, see what it's all about.
Oh, interesting. You'll have to tell us more. It sounds very developer-y.
Well, I guess it'll depend on the implementation. With the block editor, it's a lot easier than it used to be to create a reusable block that then you can specify, hey, I want this to actually execute after every, X other block. So depending on how it's implemented, it's not a code thing. You won't have to code anything, I don't believe. It'll be implemented in such a way where you'll be able to pick from parameters like, I want this to execute after,
so it's like an if-then statement, if or and or.
Sort of. If I'm guessing how they will implement it without actually looking, it'll be some type of a series where there'll be a case of saying, I want this to execute after, and you pick what block you want. And there's probably going to be naming involved. So you'll be able to get granular, like these types of blocks named this. So you can
Mm.
name your blocks and then only have that piece of code execute for blocks that you actually want it to. So not every picture, as a for instance, you could only do pictures that have been tagged as X
Hmm. Okay.
photographer. Um,
Huh.
Again, this is all speculation, but my coding background is envisioning how they would probably do it, and so I'm guesstimating right now. But I will look into it and see. But I'm excited because this gives a lot more ability to have a single block created and be able to put that within your site in multiple spots in very specific spaces,
Hmm.
and not have that copy and paste, or if I want to change this, I have to change it here, I have to change it there, I have to change it over here, like wherever it
Yeah.
is, kind of a thing. So
Okay.
hopefully
I like that.
it's really helpful.
Yeah, that sounds it's a changes on the horizon with everything marketing, right? With all that's
Mm.
going on.
Changes on the horizon. Our horizon is upon us.
Horizon is
Always
honestly
changing.
every
I
day it's
know.
always changing. And it's fast because the things that are happening now, just imagine 2 years from now, right? Like,
It'll
I
be different.
mean, it'll be completely different. I think a lot of what we're doing. So I think this is why a lot of marketing people are stressed, because they have to keep up with, like, this is not a profession for the faint of heart, right? Because
Totally.
platforms like ideas, AI, which we're going to get into a little bit more, because AI is everywhere now. And I think it's because of the API thingy, as I would call it. But
Maybe
Reno, I don't.
I'll bring
What?
up some more of the um, web and WordPress stuff when we talk specifically about AI,
Yeah,
because we're
yeah.
going to talk about AI, and there is a bunch of stuff WordPress related that we can talk about at that time.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to start incorporating it into our conversations with marketing all the time now, which
Mhm.
is kind of exciting. Exciting. I mean, let's go for social. Rena, you got any social juice? What's going on
Hold
with
Yeah,
on
like
social?
before we get to
Oh,
that, because I've got
ooh.
one that bridges over from SEO and Word websites.
Okay,
So
okay, you go.
one one that I was excited about that I just found I missed it when we were doing the prep, but I was just brushing up again. Is Microsoft's Index Now is getting integrated into Wix, so it's getting directly integrated into the website system. So what this means,
no,
it's
no, that was
it
so
hasn't been
great.
officially adopted by Google, but Yandex and DuckDuckGo and Bing have all integrated Index Now, which is like basically you create a new page and then you say, "Hey, I've got a new page," and then it goes to the Index Now API, and then they say, "Great, page looks really good. We're going to incorporate it as quickly as we can into the algorithm," and so
Hmm.
it helps your websites rank faster.
Ooh, but it's. Oh, Reno, we can't hear you. Why can't we hear you? Oh,
I
there we
don't
go.
know.
You
Now
whatever
we
you
can.
moved, we can
Oh
hear.
no. Okay.
We can hear perfectly now.
Okay, great. That's good. Well, that's exciting. That I guess that means that Wix sites are going to be on the rise, literally, in the
Uh,
indexing.
Yeah. Well, what I'm excited about is not necessarily that it's like Wix, but it's like once they've
Mhm.
built the API capability with
Yeah,
one system, how much harder is it for them to do it with the
yeah,
Shopify, WordPress,
yeah,
Squarespace, like any of the other ones? Once the that Rubicon's been crossed, where there's already an API connection with documentation, it'll be pretty
yeah.
easy for someone else to build.
Is Wix more
Perfect.
used for business owners websites? Do you think,
It's for
like,
really
who don't?
small
Yeah.
business. It's usually people who don't have a large budget or any budget to start their first website.
Mm.
That's usually where people start with Wix because it's a easy drag and drop editor.
Yeah, it's funny because Google offers a free website and nobody ever uses it, right? Like, it's
That's
got.
true. I think
Correct.
that they just haven't done a very good job of organizing it. Wix has an amazing affiliate program, so if you build
Mm.
sites in Wix, you're rewarded quite well. And they did a huge push. I know they set up a demo with me a few years ago to try and convince me to do Wix websites. And on the marketing side, they've integrated so many marketing features. It actually does make it really easy for business owners, solopreneurs in particular, to do their own marketing and site updates without having to have any help on
Mm,
there. If you're a little bit tech savvy, you'd find it fairly easy. And
interesting.
yeah,
Huh. Huh.
yeah,
I have to talk about what free websites people could get, and I think no matter where you go, you do have to pay in the end if you want a website. Like,
yeah,
get
definitely. It just depends if you want an upfront cost or an ongoing cost. Those are the only two options.
right that yeah. And so, is there anything going on? I mean, I heard something about Musk, and he's related to X this morning, but it was about the chip stuff. It wasn't about anything marketing like his failing Twitter X thing.
Yeah, so yeah, I kind of fell off the Twitter info line at the moment for some other things that I thought were more interesting. But you can tell us about X because I don't know. Um, but there is the thing of note that I really am enjoying right now is that there was a ruling that came out of the states that says that basically says that embedding images on your website, if it comes with an embed code, you can use it. It's not considered copyright infringement, which it was in sort of in the gray zone previously. Um, so if somebody gives an embed code, like from YouTube or Instagram is one of the places, Twitter is one of the places. If there is an embed code organized for a piece of content, you are free to utilize that content on your website, whether or not you produce that image. So
Yeah.
that's a pretty interesting ruling that came out of the States. I don't know what that means exactly for Canada. I haven't figured that part out yet. Um, but the argues lawyered. The argues lawyered. The lawyers argued that Instagram's practices misled third parties into thinking that they had permission to use copyright material. So it's not considered copywritten.
Interesting. Yeah, I never thought it was with the when you did a iframe because it always goes back to the other channel, right? Or other thing. But I never
Yeah, but
embedded images really.
they needed to really distinguish that because um, if you're going to give if you're going to point back to the original, you can do that just by simply giving a credit, right?
Oh,
And a
yeah.
link, a credit and a link, and that's not considered okay at all.
Oh,
That's only under certain license usage are you allowed to use things with attribution. That's what that's called. So they really did need to clarify what is on one side and what is on the other side. So the one thing that we still don't know that Greg brought up the other day was you could technically use somebody else's photo that they've got uploaded by finding the URL that it's hosted on and using that URL on your page as a way to add a photo, which is still, and as far as I understand, not allowed. So I wouldn't be doing that. But it's a similar process. So it's weird that one is allowed and one is not. I think that they just didn't argue for that in this particular legal whatever it's called. And then so that's interesting because I actually really like using Instagram in my blog posts. I
oh.
find like that you can find some really fun looking little videos and things like that someone else has produced, and they've done such a good job that I really love it, and I want to expand on it in textually speaking, and or maybe it just illustrates my point for that particular paragraph that I'm writing about really well. So I love those blog posts where you do, a paragraph, a how-to paragraph, and then it has a little video or image next to it. I love that, and without having to create all of them myself. Or if you wanted to actually write about somebody else's business, it's beautiful to use their being able to use their Instagram and give and send people back to their Instagram account. I think that's kind of a nice thing. It depends on how you use it. If you're actually not being explicit in your content, that you're using somebody else's content in your content, that's probably misleading and not particularly very great. But if you're having a didactic conversation with somebody's content, I think that can be really great for everyone, for that particular content creator and for yourself. And
I wonder
I
how it
think
does, because it's an iframe, right? So Google can't read it. Isn't that correct? I wonder what Google can read around an iframe. So I wonder how that would, like, because it doesn't do anything for SEO, but it would send people back to say the
yes,
social platform. So it does create.
yes,
So I wonder, because oftentimes, Google doesn't read the posts on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok,
that's
right?
correct.
It indexes some of
So,
TikTok. I'm not sure if how much it does now. I know that TikTok and Google used to fight, and then sometimes it would open up and you'd see some tweets, and then they'd get in a fight, and then they were like, no, we're not indexing you. And so um I wonder how
right.
the iframes will work in the long run for that, or how they'll work with
Well,
that.
I think it's mostly just going to be a link back so that you can actually send people to go follow.
Yeah, but it won't, like,
Have
it's
a
like
conversation.
YouTube, right? Iframes don't do follow. I think they're all no follow
They're
Oh, I
all
links.
see what you're saying. Yeah, no, they're not follow. Yes, yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that you can actually, as a user, you can click on that Instagram, find their account, and follow them. It's got.
Mm,
I'm not talking about SEO links at all.
anything, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
fair.
So that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, the world of imagery and sharing, because it's such a big part of the internet, but it's also
Yeah.
got lots of rules that people don't understand.
Yeah,
Um,
copyright is super important. It's you can't just use whatever you want. I'm always saying that to people. Can't just use whatever you want just because you found it online. Um, and then, sorry, you
dun
were
dun
going to say something?
dun. Oh, I was going to say the same thing for websites, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you use Shopify or Wix or Squarespace or WordPress. WordPress is, you have to be more specific about this, but the weight of the images matters.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and
So
so
embedding is nice. Embedding is
embedding
actually
does
kind of
not,
nice.
yeah, it does not take up more room.
And no space.
Yeah.
It's no space. It's cute. I really do like those. And you can see lots of news articles use embed tweets on their news in their articles already. I guess they're now allowed to. They probably weren't previously. And then the final thing that I wanted to talk about is a few weeks ago I mentioned a new product called Woo Express, which is basically a hosted Woo commerce site. So you can set up your own website and have it hosted on. Sorry, I think Greg was saying it's hosted on
WordPress.com. Yeah.
.com. Yes, I
Yeah.
always get the Oregon.com mixed up. But yeah, so it looks like they've now added a new AI feature that will help you write your product descriptions. So you put in a little bit of information about what that product is, and it comes out with the copy that goes with the.
Mm.
So you don't have to be a copywriter, and
It's very interesting for the job
yeah.
market. Okay, we're going to dive into AI in a minute. Phelan, is there any SEO news? I think there was an update, yeah?
There's the big good content update. So make sure that if
Oh,
you do have a blog post and you say that you've updated in 2023, you actually did update it in 2023, because Google went through and double checked people's homework, and a bunch of
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
really? Do they do that? They spend time. Oh, that's so wild. So if
I wouldn't
you're
do it,
talking
but
about.
other people have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Mm.
talking about when you put the brackets up at the top and it says updated, and then you put the date, and then you've republished it for that date. Do you republish it for that date, or do you leave it published as an old date and you just put the words updated?
You republish it, I believe.
Okay, you do.
But
And then you have
my,
to actually change
Oh,
the
Phelan
content,
would
is what you're
disagree.
saying.
well, my
Oh,
understanding
okay.
based on what I read is that people were saying they changed the title, but the actual like updating of the text, there was no difference
I
in the
see.
text on it.
So there has to
On
be a
that.
difference if you're making. I would think that would be obvious, but it wouldn't occur to me to cheat.
Yeah, I
Me
mean,
neither.
So people weren't actually changing the article; they were just putting
Yeah.
updated on text.
Oh my god.
Well,
apparently
we
that was a big portion of people that were misleading as well, of any sort of I'm pretty sure that, like, I know there's a blog post by Ryan Stewart that probably is going to get flagged as well, because he says that there's a free template if you click through, which drove a lot of clicks for his like data studio page, but there was no
And
free
it's
template
not.
on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
page
yeah.
itself.
Who doesn't get
Oh,
frustrated at that?
oh, that's
The
so
Um,
other thing is
irritating.
yeah,
links that are like 20 years old. Like maybe I'm being exaggerated, but if you update an article, maybe try to find newer links that are
Yeah,
more
yeah,
less outdated, right? So if
yeah,
you do
yeah.
update an article, maybe things to consider there.
Especially if you're referring to data that's always in flux and you need to know the most up-to-date stuff, because I was actually reviewing an article that was written recently as and it was talking about where people are online, and then when you
Hmm.
actually click through to review the data, and this is basic fact checking. Go to the data, where the data comes from, and figure out what year it's from, because it was pretty old, and I wouldn't use that data when we're discussing the social landscape,
Mm.
where people are, because that changes so drastically. Like TikTok has just grown, and lots of places have reduced in certain areas, but grown in other areas. Like, you have to do your fact checking, like check those links.
Yeah, yeah, I do. TikTok is actually quite a good search engine.
Yes, it is. It's very
But
good.
which is very interesting because I mean you wouldn't expect it considering looking at Facebook and Instagram. I'm not
Yeah.
sure about Twitter, how searchable Twitter was.
Searchable is that Twitter is very good. You don't even have to put a hashtag in front of the words to search on Twitter, like you used to in the olden days. I find Twitter searches. I do them often. I really dig the searches. Facebook is the worst search engine as far as I can tell.
It
You
is.
can't even
Oh,
if you like, even
Messenger.
if
Have you tried to search in Messenger ever for like
oh
a
yes, it's
person's name?
awful.
Oh,
It's awful, especially like, yes, it's awful.
so
The search in
brutal.
Messenger. I don't know why they can't get that right. Because I do search. I search for posts that I've read before, that I've
Mm.
seen before, and it's like I've seen it. I know I've seen it because that's what I'm looking for, and I click you've seen this post, you've seen it, and
Oh.
it doesn't come up, and it bugs me immensely that it can't find that. And people, when I was building my new Facebook account because my old one was closed down, I didn't get the people. Like, Facebook
Oh.
assumes that you're looking for people that are either connected to you through mutuals, or through location. So I've got a
Interesting.
friend who I don't know through anyone. We don't share any mutual friends on Facebook in Europe, and I cannot connect with her. I cannot find her on Facebook. I cannot. I just cannot.
Oh,
And
well,
it's
so this is a
bugging me
good
immensely.
good rule of thumb. Make sure if they're your friends, maybe have their phone number or their
I
email,
know.
or
Yes,
because
yes.
your list is your list, right? Where like Facebook,
Yep.
because Facebook can. I mean, I've seen this not only with you losing your account, but other people, right? So you don't generally lose your website, you don't generally
It's
lose
true.
your email
It's
list,
true.
but
It's just another, yeah, it's another way of understanding. And I think for all the professionals out there, if you're building up a big account that does things for you, and you're a professional social media person, then I would actually set up a secondary admin account for yourself on a different email address, and attach it to all your business manager assets immediately, so that you're never locked out of your business account like I was.
that is
It's
that is
it's
actually
still,
huge advice.
yeah,
Do
it's
you know?
a
I'm
huge
reading
problem.
I'm reading a book right now that gets you to kind of look back at like all your wins. For like the day or the month or like where you were before and where you are now and what so you can keep a record of it so it can be exciting, right? Okay, we have to jump into there's SEO quick 2 seconds SEO, and for me, Phelan, I know that there's some Google Business Profile stuff that happened. You guys should check out, go in there once a month to your Google Business Profile and check out things, because like go through everything, because I saw languages, so you could now determine what languages your business speaks, some accounts. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then services are ever elusive. If you've I've seen services show up, like the ones you do, and then they don't show up. So I'm confused, but I still do them. So I don't know, Phelan. And you said helpful content. Was it helpful?
Yeah, that was the update. That was called helpful content
But
update.
was it? It wasn't just about that update of the articles with the people being liar pantsers.
Well, people don't know exactly, right? Like it happens, and then people are estimating based on what they find of like who's up, who's down. But it will take another 2 weeks for them to figure out what really, reading the entrails and reading, like divining what had happened with Google.
Ooh, I wonder what'll happen with a lot of the AI content that's coming out there, right? Because I don't think people are using, like, I think there's a way to use AI, but I don't think it's a copy paste.
No, it's
Like,
also probably
yeah.
not going to be the paid tier, or not. It's going to be closer to the paid tier, where you've got personalization based on you inputting specific information that goes into it. So it's actually tailored to sound like you, not sound like every Chat GPT. Um,
You mean
so I think
every
that
article doesn't start with unleash? Don't know.
yeah,
You
there's
see
there's
that? If
always
I
a
ever
weird
see the word
twist.
unleash now, I'm like, you use. I know Jason Swank uses a lot of AI generated for his email marketing, and I
Mhm.
find it loses a bit of the personal touch. But I can tell that because I'm a marketer and I use the AI. But our clients are starting to, understand Chat GPT, and like, so we're definitely approaching that with our clients now and talking to them through that. Are you guys doing that? Talking about AI with your clients?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not with my clients. I'm just implementing
Oh yeah,
in my
yeah, yeah.
processes. Yeah.
Yeah, we bought we last night we spent the $20 a month to get the Chat GPT paid version because it can write
Yeah.
Google scripts for you.
All right.
Uh
All
and,
right.
Well,
and we
it,
yeah.
it can do it doesn't write the scripts, but it basically does what's called like pseudocode, where it basically writes the function and most of the plot points that would go into it, and then it's your job to actually fill it in with the specific names of like campaigns that you're targeting,
Yeah.
and it's Google Ad script, just to be clear as well.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, but and then you can actually ask it, so you can get it to write the script, right? With the variables, and then you can actually ask it, how would I implement this? And it will tell you where to go and what to do inside Google Ads, which is really interesting. So it's not, because I've had warnings like, don't just copy code off somebody online and put it on your Google Ads account. That might not be the most brilliant thing to do. You really want to trust
Well,
where you're
it's
getting
also a
that stuff.
copyright issue. Like code is also under created stuff, so you can't just copy code. Like lots of people, I know some people that go on and do the developer view of things and then take things that's not
Mm.
theirs.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
code, it's a language. It's exactly the same as any other creative process. It's a creative thing. You can't just take what you want.
Uh,
Although lots of
there's a
people
I
do.
would
slight
I would say if
slight
you have
breach
a
of that.
site where people are putting out helpful content, like here's how you do this and here's the
Oh yeah,
code.
that's different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
you could.
different.
Yeah.
I was saying when people use the developer view and take what they want. That's what
Mm.
I think that's what I said. So
but
yeah, and I
but
do know
that's
people do that.
so there's a slight complication with that. It's that a little bit. So it's the proprietary software has to come from the software that's developed, is stored on a server. When it reaches a browser, like a client facing portal, then it gets complicated how it can be used, because technically any of it is still like you can't really make it proprietary, anything that's JavaScript, CSS, or HTML. It's technically like it's got to be in specific encoded languages that are on servers. It's really complicated of how it works, how that. But basically, most of the stuff that can go to a client facing, like a browser, it can't be proprietary because it's immediately out in the public, and most of it's taken.
Well,
So
that's
it,
not
it
exactly
it's
what I've heard, and that's not exactly. Well, I'm not a lawyer, that's for sure. But
yeah.
I do know that you're. Well, I was told that you can't do that. But anyways,
I
maybe you need to talk to your lawyer before you do it.
well,
Yeah. Like it's complicated. It's what I would say. It's really
code is
it's
complicated. Like, let's be serious here. I mean, I don't specifically, I don't understand some of it, a lot of it, and when it's read, I'm like, close it, just close it. That's why I'm not a developer. But I don't, yeah. So, I mean, but as we go along, we learn stuff, right? And then it's less scary. So it sounds like Greg and Phelan were both piping up there about like the code stuff. Kind of funny. But let's talk about AI. We have no minutes left. AI is happening everywhere all the time. You guys got anything else? Then we got to go and meet next week. Any AI comments? No.
I already gave mine.
Well, we've been talking about AI for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, I
really.
think AI kind of gets integrated into the other topics because it's applicable. It's not a thing on its own.
That is true. That is true. And next week, do we all know what we're talking? Ooh. Hey, Greg, we're meeting next week. You know what we're talking about?
No. Why you put me on the spot like that?
Yeah. Landing pages and Google Ads. So much fun, actually. So
is it with me and someone?
Me and you.
Oh, man.
No. Well, if you're joining us today, let us know what you think about this. Did we miss anything in the marketplace about marketing and all the changes happening? And we will see you next week for landing pages and Google Ads. Woo! All right.
Thursday at 11.
Yeah, Thursday at 11.